All right, and here we go. So, welcome back to the Lazy Genius Tarot and Bazaar. My name is Alex, and if you are new here, thank you very much for making this your first stop on the channel. Today, actually, what we're going to be doing is sort of a recanting video, I guess, a correction video, we'll call it that. We are doing a correction video for the Type 1 versus Type 2 Marseille comparison that I did a while back. The reason for the correction video is actually going to be because in my excitement to have had received the Francois Gassmann 1840 deck, I had used this Gassmann, as the representation for Type 2 in that video. Now, thankfully, Justin from Justin Michael Tarot and Masha from Musings by Masha were nice enough to chime in the comments of that video and let me know that the Gassmann is a Swiss printing and therefore has two cards that are a deviation from the Type 2 Tarot of Marseille. So there are two cards in the Gassmann that are a variation, or a deviation rather, from Type 2, and therefore it wasn't entirely an accurate video, and I want to be as accurate as possible for you guys when I'm giving you some information. So today we are making a correction video for the Type 1 versus Type 2 Tarot de Marseille, and the spot of Type 2, we are going to be using the CBD Tarot. This is the Convert Vendôme Tarot de Marseille. It is I think the best representation of Type 2 Tarot de Marseille that there is out. I just didn't think about it in the time. At the time, in hindsight, I think I only did the video with the Gassmann because I was super excited to have received it. It's a deck that I've been waiting on for a while and I've been looking forward to getting. So when I did that, I think that the excitement overshadowed my judgment, and I should have used the CBD, so that's what we're going to do today. Like I said, we are going to go over the differences between Type 1, which is the Tarot de Marseille Jean Dodal from 1701, and the Convert Vendôme, which is the historical recreation of the Nicholas Convert 1760 as the Type 2. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. Let me make sure we are in frame. All right, so we are going to take a look at the 10 differences, the 10 markers of a Type 1 Tarot de Marseille versus a Type 2 Tarot de Marseille. Now, the first marker is actually going to be a couple of cards in. Now, you'll notice that there are some color differences here. And some minor details. These are not actually markers, just little things that I've noticed along the way. For instance, here in the Type 1, the Dodal Tarot, the magician has the buttons going down the front of his shirt, and on the Type 2 in the Convert deck, he does not. A lot of the details are relatively similar. Other than that, there's just some coloring differences. Same thing here. The name is spelled different, but I do believe it translates the same. Same here, a lot of the same details, slightly different colorations. And here we get to our first marker, which is the Emperor. And you see in the type 1, he is looking at the number 4 here, right? Whereas in the type 2, he is not. So that's the first indicator there. Other than that, the details are all pretty much similar, with the exception again of the buttons down the shirt and a little bit of the coloration. Next, we have the Pope or Le Pape or Pape. And the marker here is you have in the type 2, he has the triple cross staff. And in the type 1, his staff has the bulb with the sort of folding adornment at the top of the staff there. So that's going to be the difference there. And that is our second marker of the 10 differences here. Third is actually sitting right here on the Lovers card. In type 1, you see Cupid is flying in from the right and has the blindfold, and on type 2 is flying in from the left and is not blindfolded at all. So there is the third marker rather. The fourth marker that we have on the list here is going to be in the Chariot card, where in type 1 you have the sort of scalloped canopy on the Chariot there, and the shield is oftentimes going to be empty on the type 1, and the type 2 has more of like the curtain style drapes over the sides of the canopy here with the initials or some sort of a design, usually on the shield there. Here's the Justice card. Again, no true heavy differences between the details in the two cards here. There are some differences in coloration though. The Hermit is the same. Again, with the wheel, a lot of the details are the same here. You just get different colorations. Here we have the stamp. You see the stamp a lot through the Flournoy or Flournoy. I don't know which way to pronounce that. Recreation of the Dodal deck. You see that stamp a lot. But here we have the Strength card or the Force card. And our next marker, or marker number 5, is the Hanged Man. And here in type 1, we see that the Hanged Man has his tongue out and his 4 fingers from each hand are sort of draped behind each of his shoulders here, whereas the Hanged Man on the Convert type 2 does not have those features. Now this is actually the first card wherein the Gassmann deviates from type 2 Marseille in the Swiss Marseille setup of the Hanged Man here, how he is sort of looking off to the right hand side of the card. This makes a pretty big difference in hindsight. Again, I was too excited about having received the Gassmann to have noticed, but that actually does make quite a bit of difference there, whereas here you have both of them looking straight ahead at you, and then in the Gassmann you have the the Hanged Man rather, looking off to the right of the card there. So that is the first of the 2 cards in the Gassmann that deviate from the type 2, which is why I ended up having to make the correction video here today, to make the distinction of an actual type 2 Tarot de Marseille, because again, like I said, I would like to be as accurate as possible for you guys. Now again, here we have the Hanged Man, and another detail, and like I said, a small detail. This isn't actually a marker, but it is a detail that I have noticed when playing and reading with the Dodal deck here. The Hanged Man is actually numbered in reverse, and I don't know if you guys can see that or if it's focusing, but it's numbered in reverse. It's number 12, but it's written backwards. So I kind of like that about the Hanged Man here on the Dodal. Now we have the Unnamed Death card, Temperance, and the Devil is the next marker after the Hanged Man. This is going to be marker number 6. And here we see the differences between the two being the face and the belly here. Pretty much everything else lines up. There's a couple of other differences, like for instance, it looks like in this one, the devil might just be wearing some sort of like a bottom of some sort, and there is what look to be eyes in his knees. And then outside of that, I don't really see any other differences. But the marker here, like the main marker that we're looking for in the devil card, is the face and the stomach here. Now, because the marker for type 1 is the face and the stomach, when I was going through the Gassmann, thinking about doing the initial video that I did for type 1 versus type 2, I looked at the devil card and noticed that there was no face in the belly, and I figured that that fit with the type 2. However, if you notice, even with the type 2 here, there are some striking differences where between both of them, the horns almost look like antlers here. Same thing with both of the captors, so to speak, in the devil cards on both sides of type 1 and type 2. And then here you have the Swiss sort of layout here where the devil has the furry legs and the sort of human arms. And the horns here, like it's two sets of horns almost rather than the antlers, and it is definitely a different art style, a different set of symbology than either your type 1 or your type 2. So that is the second card that deviates in the Gassmann from the type 2 that was the cause for the Re-Deaux, or the type 2 that we are currently doing right now. So yeah, that was my fault. I do apologize to you guys for that. But at least now we are doing a more accurate type 1 versus type 2 Tarot de Marseille breakdown here. So that is the devil and the 6th marker for type 1 versus type 2. Here we have the Tower card. Again, very similar artwork, just slightly different colorations. Same thing with the Star. Now our next marker is here in the Moon card, where we see in type 1, the moon is looking straight ahead. It's looking right at you. And then in type 2, the moon is looking off to the left. So there is the major differences there. And again, the moon card was marker number 7. Here's the sun, judgment. Marker number 8 is actually the world card. Now, this particular marker is in the actual main character of the card. Sorry about this, I'm just trying to straighten everything out. Which you see is the person at the center of the wreath. Now in type 1, you'll see that the person here is wearing a leafy skirt of some sort, right? And the legs are not crossed, whereas the person in type 2 is wearing sort of a scarf or a sheath of, or whatever those things are called, of some sort, and the legs are crossed in the type 2 deck there. And here we have marker number 9. This is going to be the Fool card. This is the name change wherein the translations are different. I know that Le Folle has to do with folly, and there is a lot to do with, you know, the exploration of folly in the Re-Deaux deck, according to Lisa at Mindful Tarot. Now, I don't remember the exact translations of the two names here. I'm sure somebody will be able to put that in the comments, but I do know that they do translate differently. So the name here, type 1, you see the Fool commonly being named Le Folle, and then type 2, you see the Fool being named Le Mat. And then the final marker for the differences between the two, and I figured I would just go through all 4 of the knights here, is the fact that the knights are also named differently. Now, this is a spelling difference. I'm not sure there is too much of a translation difference, but there's definitely a spelling difference, and it could be the fact that the Re-Deaux is from 1701, and the CBD, the Nicholas Convert, that is a recreation of here, came out in 1760, so about 59 years later. So there could be a spelling difference because of, you know, evolutions in languages, or regional pronunciations, or whatever the case might have been. I don't know. But the knight is, instead of being the cavalier, as they are in type 2, is the chevalier in type 1. And I just figured I would go through the 4 knights here for you. That was the swords on top. Here we have the cups. And again, on all 4 of these knights, you see that same stamp right here that we noticed on the strength card. It's definitely on a bunch of other cards as well on the Re-Deaux deck here. So that was the wands, and here is the pence. And again, you see that stamp on all of them, and you see that all of them are named Chevalier rather than Cavalier, and that is the 10th and final marker of the type 1 versus type 2 Tarot de Marseille systems or structures. I will call it a structure. I don't think it's a system. I don't think it necessarily changes the meaning of the cards as much as like switching a full-on system would, but it is definitely a slightly separate structure of the Tarot de Marseille system itself. So again, that is, let me zoom back out here. That is the breakdown of type 1 versus type 2 Tarot de Marseille, as well as an apology for my mistake with the Tarot Gassmann, realizing that these 2 cards here mean that the Gassmann is not actually a type 2 Tarot de Marseille, but something outside of one of these 2 particular types here. I do appreciate you guys for coming to hang out with me for a little while and spend some time with me. I definitely appreciate it, like I said. So that is, again, the breakdown between type 1 and type 2, the corrected version, wherein we have given you guys an accurate representation of type 2, the closest that we can get without actually being back in like the 1700s, right? So here, like I said, you have the type 1 versus type 2. I do hope that you guys enjoyed the updated and corrected information here. And again, I do apologize for the mess up the first go around. But again, I am still learning. I am just taking you guys on my learning journey with me, sort of as I go about learning the different systems and decks that are all included with this study of tarot that every one of us seem to enjoy so much. So I appreciate you guys for coming along on the journey here while we learn and discover the tarot together. And hopefully, I will see you on the next one.